You guys should be able to hear me now. Sorry about that. I had to manually fix my input, but yeah, how you guys doing? Crazy Monday Night Football game, eh? You guys should be able to hear me now. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you guys can. Can you guys hear it now or? No, okay, perfect. Yeah. Let me start that whole thing over, but appreciate you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that Monday Night Football game because that was very intense when the Colts went up 25-9. Yeah, Lamar coming back, Lamar making that play, and yeah, just absolutely wild. I mean, the guy was able to put up quite a fantasy performance, and you got Mark Andrews, you got Marquis Brown, everybody was going off. So we'll go, a little Q&A for now, and then obviously get into the main waivers, the main reason why you guys are watching the live stream right now to kind of go over the top targets for this week. But yeah, we should have audio now. Perfect. Joey, yes, sir. Yeah, Alex, absolutely bonkers game. I mean, that was intense to say the least. We got you. Yes, sir, Josh. All good now. Yo, what's up, boys? Got 11 you in here right now. Theodore asks, is Trey Lance droppable? In a one quarterback league, like he's droppable. I'd want to know what other options you have. But yeah, I mean, like the 49ers have said throughout these past few weeks that they don't think he's ready. I mean, he's kind of showed on the field that from a passing standpoint, he hasn't really been ready. So if you need a roster spot, if you need one of these waivers we're going to mention, you want depth at the running back, wide receiver, maybe even tight end position, I don't mind dropping Trey Lance in a one quarterback league. But yeah, my buddy beat my league rival on Mark Andrews' shoulders, down 27 before M&M. That's insane. Mark Andrews had a game, to say the least. That turkey was finger looking good. Oh man, yeah, like a little Canadian Thanksgiving action. Me and Bushy Boy were rolling last night. I had some turkey, some rice balls, some stuffing, like everything you could imagine. Beautiful little Thanksgiving. Terrace Marshall, 2024 2 and a 2023 1 to get Austin Eckler good. Yeah, I'd say that's probably fair value. Again, if you're a contender, I think Austin Eckler's probably a top 5 back rest of the season. And if you're a rebuilder, I mean, you're getting a young, established second round wide receiver, in my opinion. A 2023 first, which is going to be a really, really good class from the looks of it thus far. And 24 2 is just kind of icing on the cake. So I think this is a fair value deal on both sides, whether contender or rebuilder. Should I pick up Madison or Booker? I want to know more about Dalvin Cook. I think he's going to be back this week. If you need production right now, I would go with Devontae Booker, knowing that Saquon Barkley is going to be out for the next 2 to 4 weeks. But if you're able to wait on it, I mean, we've seen what Madison is from a stash standpoint. When Dalvin Cook misses time, I mean, this is a guy who legitimately gets 85, 90% of the opportunity in that backfield. So it all depends. If you're playing for long-term, if you're playing for upside, I like Madison. If you're playing for short-term stability, maybe you lost, I don't know, maybe you lost Joe Mixon, who's been banged up. Maybe you lost Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Saquon Barkley. Like, I think if in that case you need production right now, I think Devontae Booker would be your best bet. Was down 90 with Lamar and Mark Andrews going into Monday night. Yeah, that's insane there, Edit. Good looks. Is that you could drop? Like at this point, he's somebody that I don't want to rely upon. Like if he's on my roster, he's going to be like end type of my bench. It's just the utilization that we haven't really seen. He hasn't been getting the opportunity. He hasn't been playing well with the opportunity he's been getting. Like if you need a bench spot, if you need one of these guys I'm going to mention in this waiver stream, I don't mind doing it, but I would prefer to stash if I can. Russ, Landry, Crowder for Burrow, Tua, Javante, redraft 2 quarterback. My team A is 1-4. I mean, if you need the players right now, I don't mind moving off of Russ because let's be honest here, he's going to be out for quite a while. So Burrow has been playing really well thus far. Tua obviously gives you a second quarterback in a 2-team league or a 2-quarterback league. And then Javante Williams is clearly the next best asset in this deal. So I would make this deal in your position, needing the production right now. What up, boys? What's up, Mono? Is Dalvin Cook going to play next week? I believe so. Again, I think they held him out due to precaution this week, but we'll see what happens on the Dalvin Cook front. But it's concerning because, I mean, this is a guy that you want to see healthy. You want to see toting the rock because in a real-life perspective, in a fantasy perspective, we know the type of asset that Dalvin Cook is on the football field. Full PPR, someone's offered me Hunt for Javante and Devonta Smith. I was planning on keeping Javante next year. Yeah, I would keep the Javante Williams and Devonta Smith side pretty easily there. Should user Gibson and Bobby Trees versus Cordero and Amari. Which side are you taking? I'm I'm taking the Gibson side, but I understand the rationale for wanting to get that stud wide receiver and the way Cordarrelle's been playing in PPR, but I would still roll with the Gibson and Bobby Tree side there. Is all right. You guys should be able to hear me again now. Connection's a little whack. I don't know why, but if you can get like a Stefan Diggs for him, I would absolutely do that type of deal because I think Stefan Diggs is going to be an alpha long term. As much as I like Mike Williams, I think he's going to be a top 15 receiver. The target share that Stefan Diggs gets and what's going to be a really potent offense is too much for me to pass on. Is Toney a good pickup? Absolutely. Actually, I'm gonna get through these couple of comments and get into these waiver wire stream, so you guys would know who to pick up. Do you think Burrow will end up top 10? I don't think top 10, but could he be a back-end quarterback 1, 11, 12? I absolutely do. The passing efficiency has been there. I think the volume's going to end up adjusting itself, and he's just been playing really good. I mean, you got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins back, Tyler Boyd. I mean, this is going to be a really solid offense for the rest of the year, so I like what I've seen from Joe Burrow thus far. Kirk Cousins or Taylor Heineke this week. PPR. I'm going to need to look at the matchups a little more. I haven't really done a full deep dive in. You guys are going to know more on that on the quarterback start sit show. But judging from the first initial reaction, I mean, week 6, the Vikings should have a favorable matchup. Let me just double check. I know Washington goes up against the Chiefs, which could be very interesting. Let me just see quickly who the Vikings play. The Vikings are going up against the Panthers. That's a tough one, but the way that the Panthers have played recently, I'm not as scared of them, whereas Taylor Heineke still kind of has a little bit of question marks for me to the point where I would prefer streaming Kirk Cousins. Should I trade Lamar Jackson and Emmanuel Sanders for Dak Prescott and Tyreek Hill? Absolutely. I would do that in a second. Like Lamar Jackson's been playing really good ball, but Dak Prescott's been doing his own thing at the quarterback position, and Tyreek Hill is a major upgrade over Emmanuel Sanders, so I would do that in a heartbeat. If I can trade Ayuk for Jameson Crowder, should I do? If you need production right now, it's not the worst deal I've heard. But if you can afford to wait on the upside of a Brandon Ayuk, you could do that. But if you need production right now, if you need like a wide receiver 3-4 flex type of play for your lineup, I don't mind going after a Crowder type just because at this point, like if Ayuk's not clicking now, I don't know when it's going to happen. But either way, you gotta measure your range of outcomes there. Do you need the production or can you afford to wait on the upside? And nice seeing you in the chat, Evan. While having Tom Brady as my quarterback 1, yeah, absolutely do that deal in a heartbreak there, Kevin. Do I sell DK because of the Russell injury? I'd probably monitor what value you can get for him. Again, I view him as like a mid-end wide receiver 2 at this current point. If people still value the name value of DK Metcalf, you can get like a Stefan Diggs, Cooper Kupp, somebody like that in the top 10 area. I would be able to sell DK Metcalf, but if they're offering me low balls because they know Russ is out, I'm just going to keep DK. Pick up Booker or Williams, Chiefs. Speaking of, I'm gonna read through these last few comments and then get in this waiver show. That's my fault. But judging from what I'm hearing, I personally would go with Darrell Williams because the potency of the offense. But we'll see what happens. I'll go through the information in a second. Toney for free week ago dropped. Oh, that is straight pain, Adrian. Should I drop Allen Robinson for Toney? It's just painful having A-Rob and Ayuk. I'd prefer to drop somebody else, to be quite honest, because A-Rob is still a very talented player and still the alpha of the offense. The volume just hasn't been there overall. I traded Cut for Najee. Was desperate with. I don't mind that at all. I mean, you get a workhorse in Najee. As much as I love Cooper Kupp, and probably it's even value, like all things aside. If you need a running back, I think Najee, with this pass catching, with the way he's been playing, with the sheer workhorse role he has, should be a very good option for you. Anytime there, Evan. Swift or Gibson, I'll take Swift there pretty easily now, JPV. I mean, Gibson's just not going to be a 3-down back. I have to accept that. Full PPR, I have Carr and Cousins. I don't feel good about either of them. With Schultz, my backup, should I offer Cousins and Hawkinson for? Do not do that. Just hold your 2 quarterbacks that you have right now because Hawkinson is by far the best asset in that deal. Should I trade Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt for McCaffrey while having Zeke, Melvin? Yeah, like I would do that deal for McCaffrey. I think McCaffrey offers you a significant tier jump at the running back position, so I would go for McCaffrey there. But for now, let's get back into the waivers, and let's start off with the running back position. The number 1 waiver at the running back position for me this week is going to be Darrell Williams, running back from the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you guys weren't paying attention on Sunday Night Football, Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually went down with what is being described as an MCL sprain, meaning that he should miss at minimum the next few weeks. And we saw in relief of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Darrell Williams led this backfield. Darrell Williams outsnapped everybody else in the backfield, including Jerick McKinnon, 37-27, ran more routes, got more opportunity. And even when Clyde's been active, we have seen Darrell Williams act as that main second fiddle to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I think Darrell Williams is going to be able to be a solid RB2, RB3 type of option, similar to what we saw from Chuba Hubbard in the time that Christian McCaffrey missed. And if we're getting that in the Chiefs offense, it's absolutely going to be worth a very high waiver priority. I mean, if you have top 3 waiver priority, I use it. In terms of fab budget, I'd probably, in case I'm very desperate at the running back position, be willing to bid a $25 bid on Darrell Williams, knowing that, again, the Chiefs are going to score points. Darrell Williams has been used in the passing game thus far. And in general, you crave running backs at this point. When a running back that gets volume makes it to your waiver wire, you have to prioritize them. So I really like the Darrell Williams situation, the opportunity at hand. 20-25% bid should be able to get it done pending your league. You just have to kind of monitor the situation. If somebody lost Saquon Barkley, if somebody lost a really, really high key running back, they may be wanting to bid more. So just monitor your own league, but 20-25% should be able to get it done. But any questions here? I'll answer a couple and then move on to the next guy on the waiver wire list. Thanks, man. Anytime, Alex. What's Claypool's outlook with Juju Dunn? We'll be starting him over guys like Devontae, Damian Pollard, and Mitchell. I really like Chase Claypool. I think he's going to be a locked and loaded top 25 wide receiver, especially with Juju's absence. In terms of who to start out of that list, I would prefer Claypool over every one of those guys on that list. Hill and Higgins for Hopkins and Scary Terry. Who wins? This is very close, but I'll still lead in the sign of Tyreek Hill because this offensive potency is just going to be electric. As much as I love DeAndre Hopkins, I just think Tyreek Hill is by far the best asset in this deal. What about Hill and A-Rob? Hill and A-Rob. If it's Hill and A-Rob, I would prefer Hopkins and Scary Terry because I see enough of a difference between Scary Terry and A-Rob to be able to take that deal. A-Rob and the Chicago Bears offense just concerns me enough to the point where I'll take the locked and loaded options. But if you're getting Hill and Higgins, I'd take Hill and Higgins. Do you think what happened with John Gruden will affect the Raiders offense? If so, should I make a trade with Waller? From an actual production standpoint, I don't think it's going to affect much. Again, we just kind of see the Raiders fall flat. There's a lot of allegations. There's a lot of turmoil in that locker room. I think they're going to figure it out. And Darren Waller is still a top 3 tight end on earth. So I think he'll be fine. The opportunity, the target share, the talent that you get with Waller, if somebody's going to sell him low because they're nervous about the Raiders situation, I think that could open up a potential buying window, actually. Fant or Knox rest of the season. This is very close. I'll still lean on the talent, the athleticism of a Noah Fant, but make no mistake, it's a mistake. Dawson Knox looks like this year's Robert Tonyan. So I think both are good, but I would still prefer Noah Fant there. Gibson, Mike Williams for Swift and Tyreek thoughts. Give me the Swift and Tyreek all day, every day, twice on Sundays. I mean, that is a no-brainer in my opinion. Give me Swift and Tyreek. I'm very pleased with Jalen Hurts, but have no RB2. Should I target Hurts for in a trade? That's the thing. Like, let me check my rankings, but in that type of area, like if somebody's really, really low on Gibson, I think that could be a very good opportunity for you. Could be a good, solid RB2 option for you, especially if you have another quarterback to boot. So Gibson could be a really good one because he's been pretty disappointing overall for the person that drafted him. So. Hey guys, what's up? What's up, Leo? By the way, let me know in the comments if you prefer a live stream type of waiver format or if you would rather me just make a video on it, because I feel like I can answer a lot more of your questions for waivers if I do it live. But if you guys prefer the video format, I can revert back to it starting next week again. But I was offered CMC for Najee, AB, and Gibson and Evans are my other backs. Oh, so CMC for Najee and AB. I'll take CMC still there. I view... Wait, so it's Najee and AB for CMC. Yeah, I'll take CMC still there. CMC to me is a tier break at the running back position. Once CMC is back, we should see him reacclimate himself as the top running back option in fantasy football. I mean, the pass catching work, the sheer volume that he gets, the potency that we have seen. I mean, this guy is an absolute monster. So I would be willing to make this move to upgrade from Najee to CMC. Zach Ertz or TJ Hawkinson. Thank you. Give me TJ Hawkinson there, Kevin. I'm digging this format. Same. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I can. I usually have classes until about 1:30 on Tuesdays. This week I got a little bit of a layoff because of Thanksgiving, but right after classes, I can hop on. I can live stream for you guys. I can talk about the waiver wire and try to answer as many questions as possible. So we can move on to the next running back. Just keep leaving some comments. I'll get into it after I talk about Devontae Booker, running back from the New York Giants. And obviously, if you guys watched Sunday, the recent news of Saquon Barkley, he badly sprained a lower ankle sprain to his ankle. Such a freak play, by the way. I mean, he's walking over, he steps on Jordan Lewis's foot and just completely rolls his ankle. The absolute like most generic like basketball injury I've seen. Like that's happened to me before, honestly. Like you land down, you roll your ankle, it puffs up. I think he'll be fine within 2 to 4 weeks, but with that vacated opportunity we now have, we saw Devontae Booker take full advantage of it. I mean, we saw him in that game. There were 68 total running back snaps. Devontae Booker actually had 60 of them, and that was including Saquon Barkley getting 6. So this is the full-fledged workhorse if Saquon Barkley is missing time. I know the offense is a little bit of a struggle. I know the offensive line isn't good, which is going to make him lower for Darrell Williams for me. But the fact is, he is a clear handcuff running back, similar to in terms of opportunity what we saw from Alex Madison, what we've seen from other of those high profile type of running backs. So if you need an RB2 for the time being, I think Devontae Booker can give you fringe top 25 production based sheerly on the amount of opportunity he's getting. I mean, to put it simply, the Giants are going to put him in position to have 20 opportunities, 18 opportunities per game. And if that's the case, you can get that off the waiver wire. I think that's well worth a bid of 20 to 25% and number one priority on your waiver list. So I would be willing to make a significant bid on Devontae Booker, especially if I'm in a tight pinch at running back, which apparently everybody is, because let's be honest here, running back is a scarce position for a reason. That's why you target highly upside wide receivers throughout your draft. So because you can get guys like this on a week-to-week basis and stream them. But let's talk about some questions here. Do you guys have? What do you think of Darrell Williams' outlook? I actually just answered this, but in terms of Darrell Williams, I mean, we've seen him garner the majority of the opportunity in the backfield with the Kansas City Chiefs once Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's missed time. And even when Clyde Edwards-Hilaire was there, we saw him act second fiddle to CEH. So I still think that this is going to be Darrell Williams maybe handling the early down and goal line work, with Jerick McKinnon maybe posing a threat in the passing game. So either way, these top two backs between Williams and Booker, I think are both worth your number one priority, and 20 to 25% of your fab, maybe more, pending how scarce, how desperate your league is. So I think they're very, very fine waiver wire options this week. I need running back to get me by until Montgomery back. I have Gordon, but with Darrell Williams, Gordon is decent, but given the opportunity that I expect from those other two, I would prefer Darrell Williams and Booker if you have the fab to be able to go up and get them. So Knox or Waller, give me Waller there pretty easily there, Kevin. This is great. Keep it up. Appreciate that, Adrian. Glad you're enjoying. Hi, Danny. What's up? Little Arnie Palmy in the chat. I think I play you in the listener league this week, so we'll see how that goes. Thank you, man, for taking the time to get all the comments. Much appreciate. Yeah, anytime there, Kevin. That's what I do. I love it. What do you think about James Washington with Juju done for the Yeezys? I was going to add him over De'Ami Brown. I mean, if you're slim pickings or De'Ami Brown versus James Washington, I don't mind taking the flyer on James Washington. We have seen from a deep threat perspective that Ben has targeted him and the opportunity that he's had in the past. So I don't mind that tentative ad. Again, I would personally prefer the 5 guys on the wide receiver tight end list that I have today. But like if you're in a super, super deep league and some of these other top options aren't available, I think James Washington is worth a tentative ad, given that Ben Roethlisberger doesn't know he's washed yet. I think Juju definitely could stay on rosters. I mean, that guy's going to be averaging 79. Yeah, amen. Do I drop Madison now and grab Chris Carson? Chris Carson's neck is concerning for me, but if he's the starting running back, it's pretty simple. Go get Chris Carson, even if you have to drop Madison to do so, because Chris Carson, we have seen when he is on the field, is that going to be that main running back for the Seahawks, which is going to be worth a top 15 to 18 place in my running back rankings for the season if he's suiting up. So, yeah, I would go after Carson. Would you trade Debo for Miles Sanders in PPR if you need a running back and have Mike Evans? I would keep Debo. I mean, he looks like an alpha. He's been really good, and he's much higher rated in terms of my wide receiver rankings than Miles Sanders is in my running back rankings. Now, if you were to mention like DeAndre Swift, if you were to mention like Najee Harris, okay, like I would talk about it. But honestly, like I'm going to have to eat crow. I was wrong on Debo this year. If we were to redraft the fantasy football landscape today, he would probably be a 3rd-round pick, and that's saying a lot considering I was lower on him on the season, but he's looked really good. So I'll leak crow on that. Debo Samuel is very good. Now, if you're talking about Debo Samuel versus Stefan Diggs, Debo Samuel versus Cooper Kupp, Debo Samuel versus some of those top receivers, yeah, I would probably lean those other guys over him. But make no mistake, Debo Samuel deserves to be in that top 15 wide receiver ranking list because he's played like it thus far. Mixing Devontae and Colin, I'm assuming that's Alex Collins, for Dalvin Cook. Who would you rather have currently negotiating a trade for Cook? Yeah, I'll take Dalvin Cook there. I mean, I shoot for upside, and Dalvin Cook has shown when he's on the field, maybe two, 3 other backs in fantasy possess his type of upside. The offense runs through Cook. He gets to the opportunities in the receiving game, and obviously from a touchdown scoring threat, Dalvin Cook is phenomenal. So I would take Cook there. Do you still have any hope for Justin Fields, or is he just cleaning our benches? I mean, I don't mind a tentative quarterback upside stash if you're in a deeper league, but if you need a roster spot right now, if you need a guy to perform, he's not a must own in my opinion. Is Brandon Cooks a good trade target? I'm struggling with wide receiver. I think his value will rise. Yeah, I mean, like if you want to buy him low after a bad performance, I think that's a very fine thing. We saw Davis Mills absolutely trash the Patriots this weekend, and Brandon Cooks be somewhat like quiet to say the least. So if you can buy him low, I don't mind going after a guy like Brandon Cooks because we know he's going to be the number one in that offense. So I'm in a 0.5 PPR week 7. I'm up against a guy who has Barkley. Should I go for Booker or not worry because their schedule and save my waiver? I mean, if you want to go for the block, I don't mind making that move. Again, like if the rest of his team is good, go for it, man. Like get that block on him. So I think Devontae Booker would be worth it. At the end of the day here, sometimes you don't even have to make moves to benefit yourself. You can make moves to ruin others because at the end of the day, we're trying to get wins. And if that's going to help you get a win, I don't mind going after Booker in that situation. Anytime there, Arnie Palmy. Thank you so much for answering our comments. You have helped me so much this year. Keep it up. Appreciate that a ton, JPV. In my opinion, Brandon Cooks is a great target. Yeah, Zach knows. If I have Gibson and Terry, should I trade one of them? I would want to know the value because I probably view Gibson as like a top 15 back-end running back right now, and I view Terry McLaurin probably in the 10 to 15 range at wide receiver. So I'd want to understand what type of value I'm going to be getting for them. But if you want to sell high on Gibson, he scored 2 touchdowns. Maybe you can get a Najee Harris or DeAndre Swift or somebody like that. I don't mind making that type of move. Should I trade Emmanuel Sanders for Lockett? Yeah, I'd prefer Lockett there personally. Sanders has looked really good, but Lockett's a better overall player. I understand that Russ is going to be missing time, but I just think that Tyler Lockett's going to be able to figure himself out. So I would personally prefer Lockett, but I understand them kind of being close in terms of relative value, given that Russ is expected to miss time. Thank you. Appreciate the videos and these live streams. Yeah, anytime there, William. Anytime. A-Rob, A.J. Brown, or Higgins? Who was the worst? A-Rob. Pretty easily in fantasy, in my opinion, given what he's shown. Snagged Toney for $1 last week and started him over. Yeah, you killed that, Joseph. That's phenomenal. Good work. Because now, as I'm going to mention later in the video, like kadarius Toney is going to be the number 1 waiver this week, and he's going to be going for 20-25% of the fab. And as I'll talk about, he reminds me a lot of a player last year that we were high on all offseason. So stay tuned. What do I do with Julio Jones? You hold him because he's going to be back this week. He is still Julio Jones, and it seems to me that he's going to be getting over that hamstring issue sooner rather than later. So you're not going to get proper value for him unless you're in a super casual league that values his name value. You'll probably only get wide receiver 30 type value, and I think he can enter that wide receiver 15 to 20 range starting this week again. This guy has Zeke. He wants Hill. What do I shoot for? I mean, I would like if you need a running back, I'd go for like Zeke plus or Najee plus to get Tyreek Hill. Or to be honest, actually, like if you offered him Hill for Zeke straight up, like Zeke is like if you need a running back, probably on par with Hill in terms of relative value. So I would make that move. I'd make that move if you can do that. Are you worried about Jonathan Taylor's snap percentage? Also down bad because my Colts lost. I'm not exactly worried because, again, we have seen that he's gotten pass catching utilization and he is super efficient with his touches. Now, is it concerning that Marlon Mack and Nyheim Hines were involved to the portion that they were? Yes, but I never expected Jonathan Taylor to be a 90% snap share mixing type of workhorse. I expected him to thrive on efficiency, thrive on big plays. And that's basically what he's been thus far. He's been the low-end RB1 that we expected that will have a 70-yard touchdown to really help his fantasy value. So I'm not too worried. But again, if somebody's willing to give me an upgrade at the running back position, like Ezekiel Elliott, Austin Eckler, which you probably can't get, but Or even like because Aaron Jones has underperformed, maybe you try to get an Aaron Jones type of trade if you have Jonathan Taylor. I think that could be a really good for you in a redraft perspective, because I think Aaron Jones long term is probably going to be RB6 or 7 for me on the season. And you guys are going to know more about that later this week, because me and Bush are actually going to go through our rest of season rankings to kind of give you guys an idea of where our heads are at. So would you trade Darrell Williams and Odell for Claypool, or possibly try Collins and Cooper for Jefferson? I would do either of those moves in a heartbeat, in all honesty. Like, if you can do either of those moves, I think they're very, very fine upgrades there. CH on IR, yeah, short-term IR, at least 3 weeks. So monitor the situation. But either way, Darrell Williams must pick up. Rank Najee, Swift, Kamara, and Eckler rest of the season. This one's pretty easy in my head, and we'll talk about it on the ranking show. But I personally would have it Kamara, Eckler, Swift, Najee. So hopefully that helps you. Locker, Cooper, Godwin, or AB. One got to go. The one that I'm going to be benching here, who the Bucks play? The Bucks play Eagles on Thursday Night Football. This week, if I have to like make a bench here, I'm going to be benching Lockett. Thanks. No problem there, Joey. Michael Williams for Tyreek. Give me Tyreek there, JPV. Should I drop Jonnu Smith for Toney? Absolutely. Absolutely. Jonnu Smith, as I'm going to mention now, actually, I'll read a couple more questions. Jonnu Smith has not been getting a role whatsoever. CH is placed on IR. Yes, sir. 3 weeks or plus. So we'll see how that transpires. Yeah, go get Dalton Schultz. He's going to be a locked and loaded tight end 1 for the foreseeable future. He's getting heavy involvement in that Dallas passing game. Choose one full PPR, Smith, Williams, or Damien Williams. Thank you. I'll go with Devonta Smith there. Again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary has been very volatile. Devonta Smith is a stud, and in general, he's the type of receiver that's going to be able to separate from those Tampa DBs. In a full PPR, I will take Devonta Smith. But let's head on to the next waiver. We'll talk about a couple other running back options. If you're not able to get Darrell Williams, if you're not able to get Devontae Booker, maybe you spent your fab, maybe you don't have high enough of priority. I think Khalil Herbert's got to be the next running back on the list. I mean, as much as I love Damien Williams, he's going to be getting the goal line work. He's going to get in the pass catching work. I would prefer Damien Williams at face value. We saw that Khalil Herbert made this a very good 50-50 type of backfield. Actually outsnapped Damien Williams this week, ran 3 fewer routes, and we saw him be able to get and garner 18 carries on the ground. So if you're in a pinch, I think that Khalil Herbert could be a very fine flex 0 RB type of RB2 option for you this week. So if Khalil Herbert's available on your waiver wire, you're not able to get one of those other top two options, I think he's going to be well worth, let's say, a 5% type of bid should be able to get it done on Khalil Herbert. But let's get into a couple more comments. Thoughts on Michael Pittman Jr., solid flex play? I absolutely think so. I mean, he's garnered 8.6 targets per game, over 73 yards from scrimmage per game at the receiver position. I think he could be a locked and loaded wide receiver 3-4 type for the foreseeable future. And if we keep seeing this rapport with Carson Wentz keep on developing, maybe he can earn higher than him. Again, I was high on him in the draft cycle. I kind of became a little more cold on him during the offseason because he was a face planner, because I wasn't necessarily impressed with the Colts passing offense, but he's balled out, and I'll give him credit. He looks phenomenal. Do you think Swift is still undervalued? Because I see him ranked at 12 to 15 running backs, but his usage is, yeah, I absolutely do. I mean, we're going to be talking about it on the ranking show, but he's most likely going to be my RB7, RB8 rest of the season. So if you can get that type of value in a trade, like if you can pay only RB12 cost and get RB8, that's an upgrade. So who are your top waiver wire wide receiver waiver pickups again? I'll actually be going through it right after the running back. Sorry, I'm kind of dragging on, but either way, my number one is going to be kadarius Toney, as you guys will see later on. I'll get into the last remaining running backs, which is going to be the New England running backs, Rondae Stevenson and Brandon Bolden. Now, in terms of which priority I would place on them, it all depends on the status of Damon Harris. He's actually banged up right now. So we'll see what his health transpires, but we basically saw an even split of snaps. Obviously, with Damon Harris going down, it's going to be lower, but Brandon Bolden led the backfield in snaps at 24, Rondae Stevenson 22, Damon Harris 21. The reason why I personally, in any type of PPR, would go with Brandon Bolden is due to the sheer pass game utilization we have seen from him. He ran 17 routes to the other backfield mates, Ramondre and Damon Harris's 11 combined, and also garnered 4 receptions in the game. So I do think he's locked and loaded as this team's third down back, pass catching back, because simply put, I mean, he is by far the most adept pass blocker in this backfield. So I think Brandon Bolden could be your new James White, can be your reception king, PPR 0 RB type of option. And for that, I mean, you could probably get him super under the radar because everybody's going to be looking at Stevenson. Nobody's going to be looking at Bolden. I'd be willing to bid 3 to 5% of my fab to ensure I have Brandon Bolden. And starting this week in a game that should have a positive game script from a passing perspective, I mean, they are actually going up at home against the Dallas Cowboys, who, I mean, call me biased. I think the Cowboys should be able to get off to a decently early lead in this game. If that's the case, I mean, Mac Jones has really relied upon a pass-catching running back. Brandon Bolden has been trusted in this role. I think it'd be a decent flex play in this game. And obviously with Rondae Stevenson, if Damon Harris's injury is severe, I would prefer Stevenson at face value to Bolden simply because he's going to be able to get this first and second down role. And we saw 11 carries in relief of Damien Williams in that game against Houston. So monitor the status of Damon Harris. If Damon Harris is ready to go, I prefer Brandon Bolden. If Damon Harris is not ready to go, if he's still banged up, I would go and tentatively add Rondae Stevenson. So let's get into a couple more questions. What should I do with Melvin Gordon? You're probably holding him now. If you drafted him, if you've used him so far, you could ride. But if you can sell high on him, if somebody's willing to bid up on him, if somebody thinks he's still going to be a lead back here, I would target receivers in that range. You mentioned, like, I would prefer like kadarius Toney straight up over Melvin Gordon right now, and I don't really think that'd be close. I think you can get kadarius Toney plus for Melvin Gordon. So keep that in mind. My friend has high value for Gibson. His team is Carson Jones. I have Mixon. If I should package Gibson with one of them without one of them for something. So you have Gibson. Let me see here. So you have Gibson, Mixon, Cooper, Evans. Like if you could package like Gibson and Woods for like Aaron Jones, I would do that. So try that. Try that if you can. Kadarius Toney or Darrell Williams off the waivers. All depends on team need. If you need a running back right now to start, I think Darrell Williams could get you by these next few weeks. But if you're looking more long-term, if you're looking more who could be this next stud rookie wide receiver for the rest of the year, I think Kadarius Toney showed against Dallas. He is a separation machine. And I'll talk about it in a second and get through a couple more comments. But, man, I watched that guy live on Sunday, 4 o'clock. He looked very good. Like, I'll give him credit. I wasn't high on him this offseason. I didn't think that he was a ready-made receiver that could step in day one this year, and for valiantly so, he didn't in these first few weeks, but these past 2 weeks, he's garnered 10 and 13 targets. So we have seen the utilization, we've seen the opportunity, obviously with the wide receiver injuries, as I'll get into. Kadarius Toney is worth your fab at this point. If you need a wide receiver depth piece, Kadarius Toney is going to be worth a decent chunk of that. So I'll get into it in a second. Let me get through a couple more comments. Cole Beasley worth rostering. Should I pick up St. Brown for him? I would personally rather Cole Beasley. The sheer opportunity in this offense is tremendous here, so I'll still lean with Beasley. Do I grab Dallas defense for this week going against the Patriots? I don't mind that ad. I would want to know who else is on your wire, but I think that could be a decent option given the fact that Dallas has been taking the ball away like no other team in the NFL. Trayvon Diggs, thank you very much. Yes, sir, J Peach. Yeah, I got Swift in the 5th round, so I can't. That is an absolute steal. Well done there, Yadio. Thoughts on running backs to target with Darren Waller in PPR? If you're trying to get rid of Darren Waller, I would need one of those top 12-ish running backs. I would need like a DeAndre Swift type, a Najee Harris type, somebody in that area, because the advantage that Darren Waller gives you at tight end is so tremendous to the point that settling for a high-end RB2 is not worth it, in my opinion. Jacobs, Henderson, or Najee? Najee pretty easily there, Tamian. Was a good waiver wire quarterback to pick up. I was starting Lance, but he's on bye. Let me actually look into it. I wasn't able to check. I wasn't able to check like the matchups this week, but I mean, looking at it right now, I don't think Taylor Heineke's a terrible stream. Obviously, if Joe Burrow's available, you do it. He's going up against the Lions. Looking at it here, those would probably be the main two. Yeah, like those would probably be the main two. So I'll go through it more later on this week with the quarterback start sit show, because I'll kind of know more options at that point, more of the fringe options. But yeah, Najee 100%. Yes, sir. Seth, Jacobs, or Henderson? I'll go with Henderson there between those two. Do you feel like Andrews can be consistent? I feel like he usually posts one good game. I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's the number one option in what's actually been a very high passing volume offense. I mean, the Cowboys are throwing just as much as the Ravens right now, which is pretty insane. Now, you could look at that positively for the Ravens. You could look at that negatively for the Cowboys. But either way, Lamar Jackson's averaging over 300 passing yards per game, highest passing clip in his entire career. I think Lamar is going to be on a very, very high trajectory thus far, like for the rest of the season. Agree there, Seth. I have $4 players in my lineup. Is that safe? It's been working for me. Yeah, again, if they're producing and they're a high octane offense like the Bucks, I don't mind that. So keep doing that. My defense are Denver and Saints have bye. Do I drop Denver and grab Dallas? Who did the Broncos play this week? Broncos go up against the Raiders. I would just start the Broncos defense, to be honest. I mean, the Raiders kind of look pathetic this week against the Bears. Hill and Jacobs for Terry and Najee. Who wins? I'll go Terry Najee there pretty easily there, Damien. Thank you. Everybody hit the like button. Yeah, I appreciate that. There are currently 50 people watching this in the stream thus far, and there are only 20 likes, man. 20 likes. Come on. Let's see that number go up to at least 35. I want to see you guys hitting that like button. Andrews and Ravens playing Chargers. Don't know if Andrews will be open. Yeah, I think he will be. We saw last week the Chargers are a very volatile team in terms of putting up points. Therefore, I think the Rams are going to have to match their output. So I could see this being a very high-scoring game, but let's get into some of these wide receiver pickups because I know a lot of you have been waiting. A lot of you have been asking about them. Start off with number one, and I alluded to him all year or all stream basically, but kadarius Toney, man, he looked phenomenal against the Cowboys. Put up a 10 for 189 line, and watching this guy live, watching him go up against my Cowboys, man, he is smooth like butter. His movements are probably matched by 3-4 players in the entire NFL right now, man. Honestly, he looks like an absolute treat in the open field. And I mentioned a potential comp for him. Okay. Shepard, Kenny G, and Slayton banged up. We kind of know the scenario here with kadarius Toney as to why he's getting more opportunity. But this is a situation that really reminds me of what we saw from Brandon Ayuk last year. A lower heralded, analytically bad, older wide receiver prospect that steps in with opportunity, has the movement skills, has the separation skills to be able to contribute. I think kadarius Toney could be this year's Brandon Ayuk. And for those of you that aren't familiar, because they're used to what Brandon Ayuk's been doing this year, Brandon Ayuk was a top 15 wide receiver down the stretch in fantasy football. And if kadarius Toney, a young rookie wide receiver, has that type of upside, he's going to be worth 25, 30, maybe more percent of your fab pending your league. I genuinely think that kadarius Toney has an opportunity with these New York Giants to be able to really establish himself as a locked and loaded top 30, top 25-ish type of wide receiver rest of the season if he continues it at the pace that he's been. Now, when Sterling Shepard comes back, when these other receivers come back, we'll kind of see what his role is. But either way, these guys are dealing with hamstring issues. It's just a complete mess at this point. So I absolutely love kadarius Toney, and I'm willing to spend that number one overall waiver priority and 25-30% on my fab to ensure I get him. So Jose said, blow up that like, y'all. Good afternoon. Appreciate that, Jose. And yeah, listen to him. 46 people in here. I currently see that there are 28 likes. So let's see that gap close in. Squad 12 team, Lamar, Henderson. Yeah, looks good to me, Owen. The only one I would consider is selling high on Jacobs and maybe Debo if you get significant value for him. How do you feel about Carson in PPR? Is he droppable if I need help at running back? I would rather stash Carson because we've seen when he is healthy, he is the main running back for that team. So I would try to stash Carson personally. Ronald Moore's on waivers. Should I drop Nelson Aguilar for him? Yeah, I absolutely would do that. And I'll talk about Rondae Moore in a second. But Rondae Moore has been getting more opportunities these past couple of weeks. So we'll see how that trajectory keeps going for the rest of the season. But he's definitely worth an ad. I traded OBJ, Zach Moss, and CH all on my bench except CH and got Gibson. Yeah, I absolutely love that move for you. Trade Hurts and Lance away for Toney and Stafford. Already have Josh Allen. Yeah, I don't mind that move, especially in a one quarterback if you have Josh Allen. So I don't mind going for kadarius Toney there. Who's a trade target you like, a sexy trade target you like right now? I mean, the answer has to start with Stefan Diggs. I mean, people are going to panic. Oh, he only had 2 receptions, 69 yards, yada, yada, yada. He is still the number one target in what has been the second highest neutral game script passing offense in the entire NFL. So Stefan Diggs is one of my highest buys. We know the talent. We know the opportunity. We know the status as the alpha. I think he's going to end up really picking it up from a fantasy football perspective. And if you're able to get him cheap right now, you absolutely should be able to do it. So God bless. Yes, sir, C-Fran. 10 team non-PPR on my team. Yeah, looks good. Looks good to me, Uzi. Looks like a good team. Any moves you should make? None that really stand out to me. Now, Corey's going to be going over his trade targets video tomorrow. Maybe that'll give you some more ideas. But looking based off the team right now, there's nothing that really stands out for me on the stream. Feel free to DM me, though. I could take a more in-depth look at it. What's your outlook for Cook for the rest of the season and things? Do you like him? Also love this format. Thanks. Yeah, anytime. And glad you guys enjoyed this type of format, bringing you these answers live. in terms of Dalvin Cook, I think he's got to be at least a locked and loaded top 5 running back rest of the season. And he's got a case to be RB2, RB3 when he comes back. The workload is tremendous. We've seen this guy's a legitimate 26 to 28 opportunity per game back, and that team really runs through Dalvin. So I think if you can buy low on Dalvin, you should absolutely do it. So can I drop OBJ? I'd rather hold him, but like it depends what other options you're talking about. But I'd personally just hold on OBJ. Talent, still the status as the wide receiver 1. I know he hasn't really been connecting lately, but I think that'll fix itself soon. Do you think Wentz is okay to start against the Texans this week? I would rather know your other options. He's probably a low-end quarterback 2 for me, but he looked good this week, to be fair. Who has a worse situation, Allen Robinson or Marvin Jones? That's close. I would probably at this point rather Marvin Jones because at least the Jaguars have shown me a propensity to pass the ball. I traded Nick Chubb, I would rather Marvin Jones is what I mean. So A. Rob's in a worse situation. Sorry about that. I traded Nick Chubb, Chris Godwin, George Kittle for Jared Cook, DeAndre Hopkins, Jonathan Taylor. Was not a good trade. I'm not a big fan of that. I'll be completely honest. I mean, if you look at Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb's probably a wash. And then you're getting Chris Godwin and George Kittle giving up for Cook and Hopkins. Yeah, I would prefer the Godwin, Chubb, and Kittle side personally. Trade Chase Edmonds for Antonio Brown. If you need wide receiver help, I don't mind this whatsoever because AP has shown that despite being the quote-unquote wide receiver 3, I mean, this passing offense is humming. Brady's on pace for over 6,000 passing yards. They're throwing the ball at such a tremendous rate, and they're going to keep throwing the ball because, quite frankly, their defense is super volatile at this point. So I don't mind making this move if you want more depth at the wide receiver position. 10-team non-PPR. Yeah, that's a phenomenal team there. Alex, damn. It's just CEH that's really concerning, but I think Fournette could be a top 20 running back rest of the season. Yes, sir. Is Booker worth picking up and starting against the Rams? If you have no other running back options, I think, yeah, sure. I mean, he could be a fringe top 25-ish running back for me. Like, think of what like Mike Davis has basically done for the Falcons. I think that's kind of the range of outcomes, give or take, that we should see for a Devontae Booker, which if you're getting as your RB2, especially if you're thin at running back, is definitely worth the start. So I don't mind that. But anyways, going back to the wide receiver position, I talked about kadarius Toney, one rookie wide receiver that has been performing tremendously thus far this year. Let's talk about a rookie wide receiver that, while he quote unquote hasn't been performing, it's because he hasn't been on the field. And Rashad Bateman should be activated off of IR this week, and he's a must pick up in all formats. We saw that the Ravens have actually been a passing team thus far this year. Again, I mentioned Lamar Jackson, 33 passing attempts per game and over 300 passing yards per game. And Marquis Brown is currently the wide receiver 6 in fantasy football. With Sammy Watkins hurt, with Rashad Bateman coming back, who in my opinion is going to be this team's most talented wide receiver, the upside is just tremendous for what we could potentially see in this Lamar Jackson-led offense. I mean, Lamar Jackson is slinging the rock. Rashad Bateman, we saw the chemistry, the opportunity in the preseason transpire prior to that injury. And this is the cheapest you're going to be able to get this type of player because, as I mentioned with kadarius Toney, as I'm going to mention with a couple of these other rookie receivers later in or right after Rashad Bateman, like I think these rookie wide receivers are about to step up. So Rashad Bateman, 25% of the fab, maybe even less because your league might not know just yet. Oh, like Rashad Bateman hasn't done anything. It's still the Ravens, yada, yada, yada. You might be able to get him cheaper, but I would absolutely be willing to bid 20, 25% of my fab to ensure I got Rashad Bateman. But quickly transition, Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, garnered 8 targets in the past 2 weeks and has really been operating as that team's main wide receiver 1. I see this being like a Tyler Boyd type asset in the past where they didn't really have a true alpha in the wide receiver game. Therefore, Amon-Ra St. Brown operating from the slot is going to be able to feast. So he's been performing well, 65 and 70 yards in these past 2 weeks, has an opportunity on a team that should be able to throw the ball a ton in positive game scripts from a passing perspective. I'd be willing to bid a decent chunk, maybe 15% of my fab to get Amon-Ra St. Brown as a decent depth option on my bench. But let's get through a couple questions. Is Kenneth Gainwell worth holding on to, or should I drop him for Devontae Booker? If you need production right now, go for Devontae Booker. I mean, he's going to be at minimum the next 2 weeks a workhorse type of asset. And at that point in this season, when you need wins like that, you need stability like that, especially at running back, given how scarce, given how dried up it can get. I personally would go with Devontae Booker there, Rolando. But I have an offer to give up Woods and Michael Carter for AJ Brown. How do you feel? Thanks. Give me AJ Brown there. Like I'm going for upside. AJ Brown is clearly the highest upside asset of this entire list. So I'll take AJ Brown there. 8-team non-PPR, Dak, CMC, Gibson, also Montgomery busy as IR. DK Cooper. Yeah, that's a really good team there. JPV. Really, really good looking. 10 first next year. Who should I be looking to acquire right now? I mean, are you rebuilding? Are you contending? Are you trying to buy low on somebody? Because if you could pay, like, you could probably get Bateman plus for a first right now because somebody's probably nervous about him. And I would do that in a heartbeat. Like, if you can go after some lower, or Jerry Jeudy is another one, like guys like that you can dangle up, especially on a rebuilding team. I'm assuming since you have that many picks, I don't mind making that type of move. But either way, like, I'm not pushing to use those first because at the end of the day here, they're going to have more value once you get close to the draft. But I don't mind making a move for a young player that I really, really believe in that is either hurt or not performing right now thus far. Fantasy Stock Exchange live stream and a video. I mean, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, this can be going up as an official quote unquote video after live stream's over. So stay tuned for that. But let's get into a couple more of these wide receivers that I like on the waivers this week. So let's go into another rookie wide receiver, and that's going to be Rondae Moore, wide receiver from the Arizona Cardinals. And we saw his opportunity really step up this week. Was fourth on the team in snaps, still only 29 to Christian Kirk's, who was third, 33. So he had 4 less snaps, which is a lot less of a gap that we've seen recently. But he actually ran more routes than Christian Kirk, had more targets than Christian Kirk, and actually was used out of the backfield. Had 3 carries in this game. And the reason why I think he's going to be a must-add in these formats, simply put, is that we saw that Max Williams, their only real significant tight end thus far this year, was carted off in this game. And for a team that is actually leading the NFL in 4 wide receiver sets, not having their starting tight end for the rest of the year, we could see them fully transition to a 4 wide receiver set type of team, using Rondae Moore out of the backfield, using Rondae Moore in the intermediate game, using Rondae Moore down the field. You have this type of elite athlete at the wide receiver position, which is what Rondae Moore represents. He's going to be used in all facets of the game in football, and as a result in fantasy football, I think he could be a very, very fine option, similar to what we saw from an early career Debo Samuel, where he's used out of the backfield, he's used in the intermediate game, he was used as a high volume intermediate type of option. I could see that being the case for Rondae Moore. In terms of fab, 10% should be able to get it done. He didn't have a crazy game, but either way, like Rondae Moore, because he didn't have a crazy game, you could be able to get cheaper. So I really like Rondae Moore here. CH was my RB2 on IR. Who should I pick up for my waiver 1? Dylan, Booker, Williams, Herbert, or go for Toney. If you need an RB2 bad, now I want to hear what your other depth is. I don't mind going for one of Booker or Williams, whatever you feel. Dylan's close, but I'm assuming since you said I need an RB2 now, you need production right now. And if you need production right now, listen, Booker and Darrell Williams should be locked and loaded top 25-ish running backs for at least the next few weeks. And at this point in fantasy football, you just need to secure those wins, and I think they should be able to do it for you. So Arizona 5-0, first time 74. Rondo sleeper. Yeah, Rondae Moore looks fantastic. Has a lot of juice. Just talked about him in the waivers. If he's available on your wire, be free to put a bit on him. Superflex 12 man. I'm in a full rebuild. Should I trade away Dak to receive Watson plus AJ Brown? I have no chance to win this season. I don't mind making that move. I mean, like even if worst case scenario Watson doesn't play, which I do think he's going to play next year, Watson or AJ Brown is a very, very fine asset. So worst case scenario, you downgrade from Dak to AJ Brown, which is probably like a late first to like a mid third. However, if Watson is back, which I assume he will be, you're getting a guy who would be locked and loaded in the top 10 to 12 overall picks at minimum we're talking here in Superflex. So I think Watson, like when he's playing, is comparable to Dak anyways. And then you're also getting AJ Brown. If you're a rebuilder, this is the type of upside move you take. So I like that. I gotta say, Lamar MVP, nothing less. Yeah, he absolutely has a case. I think there's a short list of about 7 guys that are all very, very deserving. I mean, you can make the argument Kyler, Herbert, Brady, Dak, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Matthew Stafford. I mean, there are a ton of top end quarterbacks right now playing, but you can definitely make the argument right now that Lamar Jackson means the most to his team, given the fact that he's rushing for nearly 70 yards per game, as well as throwing the ball for over 300. So I definitely agree that he is definitely in that conversation. Love the stream as always. Man, quick question. Appreciate that. And let's hear the question. Been beaten up with injuries these past couple of weeks, especially this last week. I lost Barkley and Kittle. Need some help deciding my flex full PPR. Okay, let's read this. It's starting Prescott. or do I roll with so I'm assuming Knox is going to be your tight end. I would keep that as is. Yeah, I keep that as it's close with Claypool given the opportunity that I could see, but I would roll with that as is being Prescott, Harris, Hill, Godwin, Knox. Are you asking between Claypool, Smith, and Oda? If you're asking between Claypool, Smith, and Oda, I would take Claypool there, Evan. Also, so Patterson's on bye, so would you roll with that or submit waiver for? I don't mind rolling out Moss as an RB2 for the foreseeable future. He is the main back for the Bills. Now, if you want to get a Booker or Williams to block the rest of your league because they're valuable assets, I don't mind that. But I'm gonna have to look at the my ranking show, everything like that this week to kind of determine how these running backs will shake out. But all these guys are going to be in my top 30 in my rankings, guaranteed. If we didn't lose to Vegas, we'd be up there. Yeah, absolutely. The Ravens look like a very good team. Sorry if I missed it. Thoughts on the Bears backfield? Is it Damien or Herbert? I still personally would prefer Damien Williams, as I talked about just a little bit ago. But I prefer Damien Williams. I mean, he should be the more goal line used back. Obviously, been using the passing game, but I do think from an overall opportunity standpoint, it's probably going to be a 50 to 60 split for Damien Williams. So I do think Herbert is well worth a waiver pickup, and if you can get him for like $5 to $8, I don't mind that type of move. Yeah, amen. That was crazy. Do I start AB over Brandon Cooks? I'm going to have to look at the matchups. I know AB plays against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday Night Football, and Brandon Cooks goes up against Houston, goes up against Colts. I probably would slightly prefer Cooks, but that's very close. And no problem there, Evan. So let's get into these final waivers. Just talked about Ronald Moore. I think he's going to be a very, very good option on your waiver wires. $5 to $10 should be able to get it done. Let's talk about these last two players, and first one's going to be Hunter Henry. I alluded to the fact that Jonnu Smith is seldom being used despite getting the bag. Well, let's talk about this snap split. The snap split, even 40 to 40. The main difference here, Hunter Henry, 25 routes run and 8 targets. Jonnu Smith, 8 routes run, 2 targets. Hunter Henry has been this team's receiving tight end. And if that's the case, if we're going to be getting a tight end that is used this much in the receiving game, I mean, the tight end landscape is absolutely desolate to the point where Hunter Henry, if he's able to get a 6 to 8 target per game type of role, is going to be well worth a decent waiver wire chunk. I'd be willing to bid about 5% to ensure I get Hunter Henry. I think for the time being, he's got to be locked and loaded as a fringe top 12 tight end on the landscape, because to put it simply, talk about running back scarcity, nothing's as scarce in fantasy football as producing tight ends. So I'd be willing to bid about 5% for Hunter Henry. And the final name on this waiver list is going to be Tim Patrick, wide receiver from the Denver Broncos. And it's pretty simple for me. He's a clear wide receiver in Denver until further notice. Obviously, Judy's going to be coming back soon, but until Judy comes back, he's going to be a solid flex option. We've seen Colton Sutton's going to be the alpha here. Noah Fant's going to be contributing as well, but Tim Patrick has both the opportunity as well as the playing ability to be able to earn those number 2 on the team type of targets. So I'd be willing to bid a few bucks if you're in desperate need of a flex type of play, because I think Patrick could be a solid wide receiver for the time being. So absolutely don't mind Tim Patrick, but I'll probably go until about an hour. I talked about all the waivers. If you guys want to hear more about that, just rewatch this live stream after it's up, and you guys can kind of see the rationale on each of these players. So either way, I'll get through a couple more comments, leave it at an hour, and hopefully you guys can navigate those waiver wires and get the players, because this is a pretty bountiful week, to say the least, in terms of waiver wire options. Thanks for everything y'all do. Appreciate that a lot, Robert. Glad you enjoy. And if 6 Colts aren't out, the Ravens lose last night too. Yeah, that was insane. I mean, at one point they were starting some guy that had his name looked made up. Like I forget what his name was, but you probably know it. But his name looked like made up. And then Isaiah Rodgers in there too. Do I drop Curtis Samuel for Claypool and Damon Harris for Gaskin and Waiver? Yeah, absolutely take Claypool. I don't know how Claypool's available, but go for Claypool. And yeah, I would prefer Gaskin over Harris at this point, especially with the injury concerns. Drop LaVisca for Moore, Toney, or Shepard. I'm assuming that's Rondae Moore. If that's the case, I would take Toney over LaVisca. I mean, plain and simple, Toney's just been a better version of what LaVisca was expected to be, which we were using 7th round draft capital on. So I'll take Kadarius Toney there. Any of the following droppable in 12-man league: Hines, Gainwell, Galladay, Shenault. I think Gainwell may be droppable here, in all honesty, out of those options. I would rather try to stash the others. Bo P. Yeah, that's it. Bo P. What is that? What a unique name, Bo Peep Keys, eh? Like damn. Who can I sell Miles Sanders for at this point? Any type of wide receiver too, in my opinion, if you can garner. Like, if I were to look at my rankings, that's gonna take me a second. I would prefer like if you can get like Julio Jones for him right now because Julio Jones hasn't played. I would do that type of move. Somebody might be panicking. Oh, Julio Jones already dealing with hammies, older receiver, yada yada yada. If you can get Julio Jones for a value because of that, I'd be willing to make that type of move. Other receivers like if not Julio, you can go after like a Robert Woods type, Adam Thielen, Devonta Smith, somebody like that. Maybe if they're willing to sell on Miles Sanders or if they're willing to buy on Miles Sanders. Sorry. What's a better pickup, Jeff Wilson or Bateman? Half point PPR. I'm going to take Bateman there personally. I know the allure of Jeff Wilson with the familiarity in that system, but either way, Bateman I think is the talent and the upside that I prefer over a guy like Jeff Wilson. So Jeff Wilson is a guy that you can pretty much find on waivers like once every couple weeks. Great stream, Danny. We appreciate you, brother. Yeah, it means a lot, Nathan. Appreciate you guys enjoying the stream. Going on strong about 56 minutes now. We'll probably wrap up at about an hour, but appreciate you guys sticking in there, tuning in here for this style of waivers. And I'm not going to lie, this is a lot more enjoyable than waking up super early or staying up super late, editing, getting it up for noon, and not being able to interact with you guys. I would rather just make a thumbnail, have some notes ready, and be able to live interact with you guys about what you guys should be spending on, what type of questions, who to drop, everything like that. Because typically speaking, I can't answer all those questions in a 10-minute type of video. What should I do with Damon Harris? What a bust. Yeah, like at this point, like you probably can't get much for him, but like, yeah, I don't even know. At this point, you probably hold, but if somebody's willing to give you any type of wide receiver help for him, I would do that. Like, honestly, at this point, if you can get like Michael Pittman for him, I don't even know if somebody would give you Michael Pittman for him, but if you get Michael Pittman, if you can get Marvin Jones, Jacoby Myers, like Henry Ruggs, somebody like that, I would much prefer those type of fringe wide receiver 3 types, wide receiver 4 types, rather than Damon Harris. Because to put it simply, he's a volatile running back, first and second down running back that doesn't get any pass catching work. And that was the main drawback of taking this guy in the dead zone this year. Watkins is out. Is Bateman startable next week? If Bateman's on the field, I think he could be locked and loaded flex for you as soon as next week. I honestly do. He's got the talent. He's got the opportunity ahead of him. So if he's on the field, I don't mind him as a tentative flex option, though. If you have more stable options because he's in his first game back, I don't mind waiting just to see how he comes back, how he adjusts in the NFL, if you can avoid that. McKissick is a good stash because Gibson injury concerns, right? Like McKissick's a good stash regardless because he does get third down pass catching work and 2-minute drill work. So either way, even if Gibson wasn't hurt, I think McKissick's going to be a fine RB4-5 type for the rest of the year. With Gruden resigning, who do you think interim head coach will be? It actually already got announced. It's special teams coach Rick Bisaccia, who was actually, oddly enough, the former special teams coach for the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll see how that kind of adjusts there. Talking for 58 minutes straight, and I didn't even get a sip of my coffee. That's insane. So Stevenson, good grab or stay away from the New England backfield. I mentioned Bolden or Stevenson. If Harris is expected to be out, I would prefer Stevenson. But if Harris is expected to be back, I don't mind going after a guy like Bolden because I do think he has that James White role locked and loaded. Is Pittman a wide receiver 3 rest of the season? 3 might be a little bit like. Can I say confidently he's going to be a top 36 receiver every single week? Probably not, but if we're talking about like a top 40, 45 wide receiver every single week, I absolutely think so. And I do think he's got the potential to be a wide receiver 3 if he continues to play, if Carson Wentz continues to play well as well. So he's someone I'm willing to take the opportunity, the chance on because he has played well and he is still young with an opportunity to get a ton of volume, 8.6 targets per game thus far. The Wentz to MPJ connection is real. I would definitely go for Pitt if you can get him. Yeah, Brock basically summed it up because he's looked good. He's talented. The Wentz connection is very strong with him, and you can support a guy with a YouTube channel there. So there you go. Thoughts on Lance rest of the season? He's still got the talent. He's still got the rushing ability. The only problem is Kyle Shanahan going to get in the way? Is Kyle Shanahan going to start Jimmy Garoppolo when he's back? Which I definitely think could be the case. But again, Trey Lance was always going to be a high upside, week-to-week basis type of quarterback option, nothing that you could probably rely upon every single week. Because let's be honest, when Trey Lance is in the game and he's at his ceiling, he could be a legitimate top 5 type of quarterback given his rushing ability. Let's answer a few more questions. We currently got to the an hour mark, and I'll wrap it off here. So Brown is killing it. Do you think he falls that far down with Bateman coming back? I don't think about like falling down. I think he should still be like a wide receiver 2 type, but I do think there's a scenario where Bateman outperforms him and Bateman becomes that number 1 target because I think Bateman's a better player, plain and simple. But again, it doesn't matter what I think because I thought Brandon Ayuk was a better player than Debo Samuel. So we'll see how that pyramid of targets, if you will, kind of gets distributed on the Ravens. But I think for the time being, it's going to be still Marquis Brown. But I do think there's a scenario where Bateman's talent shows out and he ends up developing into that guy for Lamar. I was offered Dallas Goedert for James Conner. Only have TJ Hawkinson, can use a backup in a 14-man league. I don't mind that move, especially because you have running back depth. Now, the problem here is Dallas Goedert is actually on the COVID list. So if you're going to make this type of move, I would wait until next week because he's not actually playing on Thursday. But either way, if you need depth, you don't expect there to be any other tight end options on the waiver wire, especially in a 14-team league. I don't mind making that type of move. Drop all Bills running back. I don't agree with that, actually. I think Zach Moss is going to be a locked and loaded top 30-ish running back for at least the rest of the year. I mean, he's looked good. He's gotten receiving work, and that team throws the ball at the second highest neutral game script in the entire NFL, as I've mentioned. Not to mention, this is a team that should be able to consistently put up 30-plus points, so there should be goal line opportunity for him. So, although we didn't score in this past game, I think Zach Moss, given his involvement, given his opportunity share in that backfield, should be very valuable for the foreseeable future. So, I like Moss. Thoughts on Josh Jacobs? Sell him. I mean, plain and simple. People are going to buy that opportunity. I just think that the Raiders are a dumpster fire. I think that he's not an efficient running back. I think he's playing behind a bad offensive line, and they're not going to score points at the rate they were in those first few weeks. So see what you can get. If you can get a wide receiver in that range, I would do that instead. Toney looks so good. I hope these injuries to him and his team as well as disciplinary. Yeah, no, I agree. Again, like it was just a stupid punch. He's young, 23 years old. Devontae Casey is kind of getting up in his face because he juked him out, whatever. And Toney, lack of judgment, ended up throwing a punch. So I don't think that's going to be a consistent issue because he already apologized and everything like that. But we'll see how that transpires. Sell high Jonathan Taylor or keep him. Like if you can sell him for another running back in that range, talking about like Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, I would be willing to do that. However, I still value Jonathan Taylor as a back end RB1 type, top 10, 11 type of player in fantasy football in terms of running back position. Great analysis. Appreciate that, Jose. Glad you enjoyed. I'm in a deep league and already have Pittman and Myers, but Harris is my RB3, but I'm more confident playing Pollard. Yeah, at this point, Pollard has to be the start over Harris. I understand that the quote-unquote lead back versus the second back shouldn't really be an argument, but, I mean, the Cowboys are running the ball 200 yards per game. Pollard's actually top 10 in the league in rushing right now. So either way, even from a sheer rushing volume standpoint, he's more valuable than Harris, given the strength of the Cowboys offensive line and overall offense. Not to mention, he also gets more receiving work. So I would personally much rather Pollard, and it's not really close. Thoughts on Noah Fant? I think he's going to be a locked and loaded top 8 tight end for the foreseeable future. Kind of a down game, but I think he'll step back up. Liked and subbed. Thanks for the help anytime, B-Dubs. Glad that we were able to help. And yeah, you got a good chicken wing restaurant after your name, so respect that. Buffalo Wild Wings for the record. We call it B-Dubs in Canada. Isaiah Simmons has the same anger issues. It's all good. Toney is great. Yeah, no, I fully agree there, Jose. So we'll give it one more minute. I know I said an hour. We're an hour 3, but we're vibing. So I'll give you guys a couple more comments. Do I pick up Toney or Shepard? I'll take Kadarius Toney there because we saw the rookie emergence. We saw like throughout the preseason, the reason why he wasn't getting the opportunity was because Garrett wanted him to quote unquote earn it. And let's say after a 9 target and 13 target game, he's more than earned it. So I personally like the upside of Toney because we kind of know where Shepard maxes out at this point. Pitt's top 5 tight end, absolutely. I mean, the usage, the opportunity, the utilization is all there for Pitt to continue being that stud. Now, top 5, you can argue, okay, maybe top 6 is a more fair assessment because, I mean, like, to be fair, if you want to argue against Kittle, but I still think, like, there's a clear-cut pyramid of tight ends right now. You got your Kelsey, you got your Waller, you got your Hawkinson, your Andrews, your Pitts, and your George Kittle, and I definitely think Pitts is in that elite tier. I do. Senator McCole Hardman, I'll still stick with A-Rob. I understand McCole Hardman's getting used more, but man, I'd want to hear what other options you have personally, but at this point, like, I'd actually have to look at that for the rest of the week because honestly, like, I think Hardman's actually been getting involved a decent amount. So we'll see what happens there. Right now, gut feeling, I would personally go with A-Rob, but give me a week to kind of look over that. We'll talk about the rankings. We'll talk about the Thursday and Sunday night live stream or Sunday morning live streams and kind of see how that changes throughout the week. So I'm just kind of going off my gut right now because, again, it's a Tuesday morning. Thanks. Good show. Appreciate that, Joey. Glad you enjoyed. Colts D or Steelers D. So we got the Colts going up against the Texans, I believe, right? Colts against the Texans and Steelers going up against the Seahawks. I'll take the Steelers against the Geno Smith-led Seahawks team on Sunday Night Football. Thoughts on San Francisco running backs? I have Mitchell, Sermon, and Wilson. I may need to drop Sermon. Yeah, I don't mind dropping Sermon at this point. We saw that when Mitchell was on the field, there was a 44-2 discrepancy in terms of snaps. So, yeah, yikes. Who's your top buy low this week? It's going to be Stefan Diggs. Again, Bush is going to get more in depth tomorrow's video where he's going to be talking about his trade targets. But Stefan Diggs, opportunity, target share, offensive potency, alpha status in terms of talent. Like, I think he is the most glaring buy low in fantasy football at this current point. You could probably get him for a fringe top 12 to 15 price because people are panicking. I think he's a fringe top 5 wide receiver the rest of the season. I really do think that he's going to be able to turn it around. So go buy low on Stefan Diggs. Appreciate all the advice, bro. Yeah, anytime, Mo. Glad to be able to help. Should I start Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson? I would personally still go with Kyler. Let me check who the Cardinals are playing real quick, and I'll get back to you. But Lamar Jackson's definitely in that tier now, given how we've seen it. But either way, highly volatile game. I know the Browns defense is going to be good on the surface, but we saw last week what Justin Herbert was able to do in a situation where they're going to have to match point for point, especially against a Cardinals team that is really, really good. I think that's going to be a high scoring game. Therefore, I would still personally lean with Kyler Murray, but yeah, that's a toss up. Both of those are probably going to be like top 3 or 4 quarterbacks for me this week. Javante Williams, thoughts buy, sell, gold. I would hold him and I'd buy him, to be honest. Like, if you don't have him, go buy him. Where would you rank Claypool now that Juju's done? He's going to be a locked and loaded top 25 type of wide receiver for me the rest of the year. Who's your top sleeper pickup right now? I mean, I talked about my top pickups overall, but in terms of like sleepers, guys that are going under the radar, I mean, the number one name has to be Rashad Bateman because, to put it simply, in more casual leagues, people are going to look at the fact that he hasn't played this year. They don't know about his talent as a rookie wide receiver. I'm going after him in every single league I'm in. The only problem is I actually have him in most of my leagues, so it doesn't even matter. Would you trade Alex Collins and Sutton for Bobby Trees? I mean, if you don't need the running back depth right now, if you're fine at running back, I don't mind upgrading from Sutton to Bobby Trees there. I have Kyler Murray and Herbert on my bench. Who do I start? So you got Herbert going up against the Ravens. You got Kyler going up against the Browns. I would slightly lean Kyler there, but again, we're talking about probably 2 guys that are both going to be in my top 5 or 6 quarterback rankings this week. I really do think that's going to be a very close discussion. So I prefer Kyler, but man, that's a phenomenal situation to be in. But let's read this last question. Khalil Herbert was balling. Yeah, absolutely. He looked really good there. 18 for 75 toting the rock. I really think this is going to be a 2-man type of committee until David Montgomery gets back. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the stream. If you enjoyed the stream, again, as always, we have 42 still in here. I want to see 37 likes. So I like that ratio there that you guys were able to close in. So, and as always, if you're watching this stream on repeat, if you didn't watch it live, again, keep hitting that like button and comment on the video when it's already up. I mean, I want to see all you guys seeing what's up. You know, a little hello there, and comment down below after the stream is done who your main target is on the waiver wire this week. But quickly read Hartnell down. What's up, Hartnell? We're actually heading out of here. If you want to kind of recap what I discussed on the stream, again, this video should be processed soon on the channel, so feel free to watch that when it's already up. But anyways, got to go to the gym, got to get some work done. I have a couple assignments due on Friday, #college life. Peace out, y'all. Enjoy your Tuesdays.